Okay, so recently had a call from a friend who had a situation where had a column which had 1 to 1,000. So control down arrow, I can get to the bottom and you'll see that there's 1 to 1,000. Then in the second column, it looked like all of the columns had unsorted themselves. So basically, what we want to do is we want to get these rows lining up to their corresponding number in the first column. So here's my fix for you, my friend. So first of all, I'm going to insert some new column. Actually, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some headings up the top. I'm going to have ID. I'm going to have jumbled ID. You may already have some column headings at the top. I'm going to have description and category, like so. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually insert a few columns, just to give myself a little bit of room. Now, ultimately, I'm going to make this table here is going to become my lookup table. So first of all, what I want to do is I'm going to just select the table from the headings down to the last entry, and they could be all the way to the bottom, so that's fine. I'm then going to sort. I'm going to do a custom sort, and I want to make sure that in my custom sort it says my data has header rows. So I'm going to tick that box there. I want to sort by jumbled ID, smallest to largest. Click on OK, and you'll now notice that sorts all of those in order, like so. The next thing I'm going to do is this is going to become my lookup table for a VLOOKUP. So the best way to make this work is to select the range like so. It's been a little while since I've done a VLOOKUP, so this will be fun. Now, with lookup tables, VLOOKUPs and lookup tables are not interested and don't include the header row, because that's absolutely got nothing to do with the data, and Excel can get confused. So the next step we want to do is we want to select the range of the data only, and up in the top left hand corner here where it says name box, I'm going to click in there, and I'm just going to call this data lookup, and there's a little underscore there. I'm going to press enter, and that becomes a named range, because that makes it easier to reference that range when I do my lookup. Now, starting in column B over here in row 1, or row 2, which is number 1, I'm going to do a VLOOKUP, and I like to use my insert function button, and there's my VLOOKUP there. If you can't find it, you can go down here, lookup reference, you can hit the letter V for VLOOKUP, there it is, and I'm going to use my lookup formula. So my lookup value is the value that I want to use as the foundation value, which is going to create the corresponding row. So in this case, the lookup value is the number directly to the left, or the value directly to the left. This is sort of common. The next thing I want to do, the table array, is my table. Now you see here it says is a table of text, numbers, or logical values in which data is retrieved. Table array can be a reference to a range or a range name. Now I did name it before, which is awesome. What did I call it? Well, I can't remember, but lucky I've got this magic shortcut key. Check this out, the F3 key, the function 3 key on the keyboard. When I click that, normally that will bring up the insert name column. What I can do from memory is I can go into formulas here, and using formula, and I can just go in here and click on data lookup. So that's now referencing the table array. F3 does normally work. For whatever reason it doesn't, probably because I'm recording this. Now the column index number, this is pretty cool. So the column index number is the column number in the table array, which in this case is data lookup, from which the matching value should be returned. The first column of values in the table is column 1. So if I just type in 1, then it's going to look up column 1, and which is all those numbers there, and it's going to go down until it finds a match. Now, here's the last thing that's really, really, really important in your situation. The range lookup, it says here, it's to find the closest match in the first column. We can just leave that blank or type the word true, or to force it to find an exact match, we type in false. Now, a lot of the time, I'd probably say 90% of the time, you'd type in false. Otherwise, what it would do there is it would return 3, and we don't want that. We want it to return 1, and if 1's not there, we just want it to return nothing. And you'll see here how it says formula result is nothing. So if we click on OK, that's exactly what we want. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind is we can fill this formula down, and lo and behold, you'll see here that as soon as it hits row 3, it's now returned 3. If we drag that down to 14, it's now returning 14. So it is actually looking up that first column successfully, and that's what we want. Now, how do we get the second column? That's a really good question, and I'm glad you asked. As a bit of practice, we're going to rebuild the VLOOKUP from scratch. So I'm going to go back to the top of that column, click on FX. I'm going to look for my VLOOKUP again. There it is. Now, the lookup value, I'm still going to go back and use ID1, or sorry, the column A in this case, which is our lookup value. Now, the table array is exactly the same table array. And I'm going to use using formula, data lookup. This time, the column index number is 2. So if I type in 2 here, and then once again I need to type in false, click on OK. Now, of course, NA, there's not a match, but check this out. When we drag it down, what's going to appear? 3. There it is. And if we keep going, lo and behold, there's 14. Now, what we can do, to fill that all the way down, we just double click, and that will take us all the way down, and you'll notice that these numbers are being filled in where they find a match. Same here, double click, they're all filling in where they find a match. Perfect. Let's try the third column. So FX, VLOOKUP, lo and behold, lookup value is the first column, which in this case is A2. Table array is data lookup. Column index number in this case is 3, and we want false as well. Just one thing, for those of you who are familiar with relative referencing and absolute referencing, we relative reference the lookup value, but we absolute reference the table array. Now, if we had just had cell references in there instead of the name of the range, we would have had to have absolute referenced those cell values with $signs. But because we've named the range, whenever you name a range, sitting in the background behind the name is absolute references. So dollar in this case would be $I, $2 to $K, $12. So that's the behind the scenes, that absolute referencing is taking place. Now, click on OK, and drum roll please, and away we go. There's Kiwi, which is that number there, and I can just do a double click, and away you go. Fantastic. Now, the next thing that we want to do is, and I'm just sort of adjusting some of these column widths as well. Okay, the next thing we want to do, because there's still formulas sitting in the background of all of these, what we want to do is we want to select all of these cells. So from the first cell with the first formula, we're actually going to copy all of those cells and paste over the top, but we're going to paste the values. So it's just going to be raw data in there. Now, a quick way to do this, we're going to, from the first cell that we want to select, hold the Control and Shift key down, press the right arrow key once, and then the down arrow key once, and then that'll take us all to the bottom. So all of those cells are selected. I want to copy, so I'm just going to copy those, and then going into the Paste drop-down menu, we've got Paste Values, and lo and behold, so paste values, so these aren't formulas anymore, and we want to also get rid of all of these hatch NAs. So what we're going to do is do the same, Control Shift right arrow down arrow, and then we do Control H, which is find and replace. Control F is find, but Control H brings up replace. So we want to find hatch N/A, and we want to replace with nothing. Replace all. Click on OK. Click Close. And if we look back through the list, you'll notice that all of the values that weren't NA are still there. And hopefully that allows us to get our data back in line. So hopefully that helped you. And don't forget to click the subscribe button. I've never said that before. This is my first video. But hey, hopefully it's the first of many to come. And hopefully that helped.